Okay. The technologies say that we are broadcasting.
Excellent.
Okay.
Welcome
It's
to the
not quite,
broadcast.
yeah, it's not quite 3:30 yet, so we'll give folks a chance to get here. I think we figured out how to get our names up on the screen, so I think that that's happening. It's a
Oh,
technology win.
well, that's exciting.
It's probably not that exciting to most people, but it's exciting to me.
Celebrate all the wins. Get yo Skittles.
Okay, I was just muting my microphone for a second because my chair, I love this chair, but it just makes a lot of noise. It's an old chair, but it's heavy and it's a task chair, so it actually um, the hydraulics will raise it up pretty high,
Mm-hmm.
a lot higher than a regular office chair, which for people who have long legs like me, that's really helpful. But they don't make it like this anymore, so I like this chair, but that means some compromises when it comes to sound and such like. So
Give it a little WD-40.
right, and now you know that. Doesn't your day feel complete?
I know I feel enriched.
Right. It is 3:30. Should we get into it?
Let's do. Who is you?
Ah, who am I? What a question. Um, my name is Jill Bates Moore, and I am one half of the dynamic duo at Dahlia Law Group in Oakland, California.
I'm Alicia Holland, the other half of the duo at Dahlia Law Group. So, we would like to welcome you to this chat. We're very excited about it. Uh, the Legacy Live How To series. And so, today we're going to talk about the big picture of legacy and estate planning. What is it? What does it mean? Who needs it? Cliff's Notes, spoiler alert, everybody. But we'll get into that. But first, how are you?
I am I am fine. I'm happy that our friends are here. Hi Lisa. Hey Shauna. Um, I am feeling an immense amount of gratitude for the just the amount of community support that we have, the amount of support that I feel in my professional work with you, with and in my personal work. Um, I'm doing what feels like some high level adulting. It might not be high level for other people, but it's high level for me. And it is invigorating, inspiring, and exhausting. So it's all the things, right? Like we started a friend group, and started a water and nutrition and movement challenge today. So there is that. I'm in the midst of my of a yoga teacher training, and so there is that. And it's a lot of good stuff in the same space where I'm holding collectively with everyone else all of the other stuff, right? Every time I open the news, there are yet more Black people who have been murdered at the hands of the state. There's more news and news and news and news and news. And of course, there's more COVID news as well. So all of those things are existing in the same place for me, which I know is this is kind of a long answer to your question, but that's where I am right now. I'm in a long answer place. So there you go. How are you?
That's beautiful. I'm like, damn, that's a real grown up answer. So I'm like, just plucking along is what it feels like. So yeah, I am happy that I get to be in a space where I get to do my work safely and to actually consider that. And so just the constant changes and updates in the COVID news that I keep seeing, the fact that in our particular county, where I live and work, Alameda County, that they sent the word this week that they're like, so remember those reopening plans we talked about? Full stop. Heartbreaking on that, because these numbers are climbing. I think California alone just crossed 6,000 deaths this week. And so just hearing all of those things and people that are like, let's get out there. I'm like, I would love to get out there in the sense that I am tired of being at home, but I am so grateful that I am not being forced out there by anybody. So I'm grateful for that. So even in the plucking along of it all, just really understanding and recognizing the privilege that comes with being able to do work like that, having support from family and community to make that possible, to help cover some of the shortfalls that creates. And so in the plucking, trying to be really mindful of the being grateful and to do what I know I need to do to not feel like a banana slug. So this morning feels a little banana sluggish. So I was on, somebody had sent a video through a video app. And it was like right at 12 o'clock. And I picked it up to respond. And there's that brief second where you see yourself, your image before you're going to do it. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, shoot, you got to do something. You got to be on the internet in 30 minutes. And you do not look all right. Fix it. So I had to pull it together.
Who has not been there? Who has not been there?
Like when your own image startles you for a second.
Whoa, hey.
Yeah.
Just a minute.
So we're coming in hot from that experience.
Oh God, this is the laughter of understanding. Totally.
So that's the plucking along of it all on today.
You know what? Cheers to the pluck, friend. Cheers to the pluck.
And I got my water, so hopefully that'll help bring it on.
Oh man. All right. Well, that's how we are. If you're here and you have a keyboard nearby, we would love to know how you're doing. Drop us a line so that we can be in community with you however you are. We are today, today's topic is, why does Errr'body need a legacy and estate plan? Errr'body. And Errr'body means everybody. Yes. That's my Missouri, right? You know, I was born and raised in St. Louis, and so Errr'body is what I would communicate if I were home. I mean that in the most expansive way possible. Sometimes this work has the reputation of being exclusive, right? It is this legacy and estate planning work, and we'll talk a little bit about what legacy and estate planning is, but sometimes this work has the reputation of being exclusive to the privileged few, right? That's for white people. That's for rich people. That's for those people, some people other than me, people. And the topic for today is really about getting to the heart of the matter. We will talk about the tools and what goes into a plan, what the actual planning tools are, what they're for, how you use them, how you know. We will talk about all of that as we progress in the series. But for today, where we are right now, we are talking about why. Just the why of it all, because everybody, everybody means everybody. So I'm talking about Black people. I am talking, yes, poor people and economically marginalized people need a plan. Yes, yes. Trans people need a plan. Black people need a plan. Queer folks need a plan. Non-conforming, in air quotes, because what does it mean to conform? People need a plan. People with kids, people without kids, every single person needs a plan. And today's focus is really on why and how we approach that. So I know what I think. Alicia, do you want to start with what you think?
Yeah, so I think one of the reasons that everybody needs a plan is because what this plan is really designed to do is to create the roadmap and the blueprint for your people to get things right for you, about you, around you. So, the way that we approach the work is we think of it kind of in two different categories of planning. The first thing has to do with the plan around you. So, if something's going on and you're not able to care for yourself, who's going to do that for you? Who do you want to be your decision makers? Giving them folks some guidance so that they can feel confident in the decisions that they are making and to not have to wonder what you would want them to do or who you would want doing it. It's going to be part of that planning. Who do you want to be in the room and out of the room as far as access to information is going to be part of that planning. And so if you think about the plan in those areas, that gives you a sense of all those people that Jill just said of why they need a plan. Because whether you got money or not, those are important questions and the answers to them make a difference. And the planning is how you get to make sure that what you want is what is happening there.
I am, I include myself in this big inclusive we, so that is my language. We need this. And going just from the big ideas to the small ideas, I want to start with the biggest idea. The biggest idea is in response to the question of why does everybody need a plan, is because you matter. Yes, Black folks matter. Queer folks matter. Trans lives matter. Like, that's the reason why. You need a plan because you matter. It makes a difference that you are here. It makes a difference that you are here. The legacy part of legacy and estate planning, the way that we craft this work, so we don't call ourselves estate planning lawyers or trust and estates lawyers, because that's not what we do. That is not what undergirds our work. Those are the tools that we use, right? But that is not our work. We do the work of legacy and estate planning because the legacy part of that work is where the values live, right? It is where the stuff of your life, the stuff of our lives lives in the legacy part of the understanding, right? The distinctly we shaped imprint that we make on this life is the legacy part of the work. And so that is where we start. That is what is important, and that is what drives the work. So the tools that we use are are common tools, right? And those are and should be accessible to everyone. And part of our work is to make sure that that is so, right? So we are going to talk in future episodes in this series. So this is the sort of the kickoff of an overview series of what the legacy and estate planning tools are and how to use them, and and so on. But the first thing is you. It starts with you. It starts with me. And so what does that look like? Right? It can look like any number of things. It can look like, for an example that we often use because it's so true, is that one of my great grandmothers, her name was Virginia. Which I don't even think I knew until I was an adult. Like, she was Granny. Like, let me call my great grandmother Virginia and watch what happened. But anyway,
Grannies have names,
right?
Their name is Granny
In the Midwest, like,
it's Granny.
give me a break. But anyway, I call her name now. My ancestor Virginia, who I had the pleasure of knowing and having a close relationship with during our lifetimes. She had some cookbooks, right? Like she had some cookbooks and some things that were not in cookbooks, right? When we used to get sick and we get a cold, like, she would slime us with this stuff that I think it involved duck grease or goose grease and menthol or something, and she would like wrap us up in that crap and like these big heavy blankets. And I to this day don't know if the stuff worked because it worked on the cold or because it just broke our spirits. Like, we didn't want to be wrapped up like that anymore. So we were like, anything has to be better than this, or I'll just go to school, Granny. But
I have to get better just so that I don't have to do that again.
like, I gotta get out of this thing. But the recipes for that stuff are a part of my legacy, right? Because they were a part of her legacy. Those things are important to me. The cookbooks that were just common, everyday, sort of good housekeeping, whatever, cookbooks that you can probably buy in any thrift store, secondhand store, or get for free online somewhere, right? Those books, because they were her books, are important to me. Those are part of the imprint of my granny shaped imprint on this life. And that is a part of my inheritance. I would even go so far as to say that that is one of the most valuable parts of my inheritance, right? And so making sure that my people know, and this is a part where we start to look at the tools to accomplish this, making sure that my people know not to throw out my granny's cookbooks, right? or the Bible that she used to read every night, right? The one that is tattered and is taped with duct tape, but has everybody's birthdays in it, and that I got to read my wedding vows out of. Like, that matters. That is a part of this life. It is a part of my life, right? And so making sure that that is protected, that it is articulated, and that it is communicated is an important part of this work. And that is certainly why I do it. So, Errr'body. Say it again for the people in the cheap seats, because Errr'body needs a plan.
The body.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit. I'm curious. Like, I'm curious for storytelling time now. Like, tell me a little bit about the things that, some of the things that are a part of your legacy, and why, where they fit in this work. I'm saying tell me. I know some of this stuff because I know you, but tell me again because I like it and because we're talking to people who don't necessarily know us in these ways today.
Yeah. So there are so many, like, I think you covered it so well that some of those things that are so important that have the greatest value to our lives and our hearts and just the essence of us don't have anything to do with the money at all. And so many times when people are thinking about estate planning, and I know that you've seen this because we have people that say this to us all the time, and they're like, I don't really have that much. So this isn't for me, or it's going to be like super basic or super simple, like nothing complicated about it. And reframing that, I think, is so important because I will tell you, as one who went to law school and who has a home with a mortgage, like the money is likely going to all be going to pay for all of that because it's a lot. And so, yeah, plan for that. But the things that are important to me, so like one of them that is one of my favorites is that I have my mother's Bible that sits inside of the Bible cover from my grandmother. That for all of the people, and so within that I have some cards that are important to me because I love cards, greeting cards. And so I have a stack of cards from things that I've gotten from my mother, from my grandmothers over birthdays when I was children. Keep in mind that I still have these cards, and both my mother and my grandmother have been gone from this side of earth for 20 years, and I still have them. So they have moved with me a few times, but they are important to me. I have it within that Bible cards that I have gotten from my dad, because my dad, who is not a particularly emotional person and expressive verbally, but cards are his thing. And so he is going to take his time to pick the right card for you. And so I know you're giggling about this because it makes me giggle too, which is that he has sent me the same card for different occasions on 3 different times. I'm like, well, talk about consistent. And even somebody else sent me that same card for something too. So this person that you get, she the same in all the places, as evidenced by the greeting cards. So things like that are in that Bible. The programs and announcements for when people that I really care about that I have lost. And so I have, like, that is super Black and super Midwestern, I think. But you get the program from the Fume.
Bring me a program. Bring me a program. Yes.
And so those are in there as well. So that's one of my favorites. Then something else that is a thing that it's a love that I inherited, I think, from my mother. But in my house, the china cabinet doesn't hold china. It holds beautiful and fabulous shoes. And so all the pretty shoes are on display. And so that's a thing that is important to me, that, well, technically they have some monetary value, but they had more value between me and Nordstrom's when it came to the cash aspect
Right.
than they do for anybody else in moving forward. So that's a thing to know. But those are important. The pieces of jewelry that I don't wear a lot of, well, I do wear a lot of jewelry, but the ones that are my favorites, you happen to know. So this one is one that you see a lot because it's one of my favorites. And so it didn't cost me a lot of money, but I just thought it was interesting and cute, and I wear it a lot. And it's purple, which is my favorite. And so those are things that are tiny little bits that are important to me, that it's important to me that those things get passed along. My sewing things, which don't have monetary value to other people, but that is a huge part of my life and the community that I have around me. And so I would want those things to go to people that would know and love them, that would have that connection to me through that, even though it's a tangible thing, it's more than that. So those are things that I think are important and why I do this work. The other thing that's I think really important about this work is sharing the story of what I want it to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And so if somebody else is caring for me, there are some standard things that you could do. So yes, make sure a person is clean. Basic. And there are some things that you can do that are just extra touches that are integral to that person, that's important to that person, that being able to tell somebody, this actually matters to me. It's part of how I see myself moving in the world and how I want to be seen moving in the world. And so it might not matter to anybody else, but this is part of how I feel like myself, and like I'm at least doing my part to not be a banana slug in it all. And so getting to have that documented so that if somebody else is responsible for my care and taking care of me, that they would know things like that. So people that know me, you don't need to know me for long, but you'll know that you will rarely see me in the world without some earrings on. So much so that I keep them in my makeup bag in my purse in case I was in a hurry getting out of the house and forgot them. And so getting to have that in the papers, which seems like a trivial thing, but,
Oh.
and it doesn't matter to anybody else, but that's important to me. The fact that I love having my nails painted. And so even in the time of the quarantine when we can't go to the nail shop, which is fine because it's meditative and that's part of self-care to me. So my nails get redone a good 3 times a week right now. And so right now there are stripes and glitter and multiple
Oh, wait, let me
colors.
see. I haven't seen these. Show me. Oh, huh. Oh, I like.
Thank you, thank you. So those are things. So like a thing that I can say is in my documents is, look, if somebody else is responsible for my care, then that means I probably don't have a lot going on in life. I'm not working, I'm not out doing things. If something is happening that has somebody else responsible for me, then that's likely true. And so I actually put it in the papers. Give me the loudest, wildest, most outlandish nail designs because I will see them and it will make me happy
Yes.
to know. So if that's what I have to bring joy to me, then that is what I want. Another thing that I think is really important about that too is we might have spiritual or physical practices that are important to us that may not necessarily translate to the people that we would want caring for us. And so getting to know that, because when we think about care for ourselves, we're not just thinking about the care of our physical bodies,
Right.
but thinking about care for our whole essence. And so getting to share that with people so that even if how they are learning about some of those things in a deeper way is from reading those papers, that they just get that much more of who I am and what I'm about, even more so than they may necessarily pick up from talking direct.
Absolutely. Like, what I hear us saying is affirm my life or join me in affirming my life. Like the fact that I am here and that I get to take up space is a thing that is worthy of celebration, that I am entitled to be affirmed in, and that I am also entitled to share, right? Like this life, I know. It's probably gonna sound a little woo-woo, but I'm like that, so whatever. But the energy of this life continues, right? Like whether you believe that or not, like I mean, physics is real, right? And so if we can agree that energy is neither created nor destroyed, it just changes form, right? Then okay. And so the energy of my life, the things that I have done, the things that were important to me, my priorities, my care, all of that impacts the people who care about me and who I care about. And so I don't think that it's trivial at all to know that if you need to care for me, if somebody else needs to care for me, this is my standard. This is my requirement. I get that. I get that. I am entitled to that. Yes, I get to have requirements. We get to have requirements. And it has zero to do with how many assets we have or whose name is on the deed. It doesn't have anything at all to do with what we have to leave to whom. Doesn't make any difference at all. If I need to be cared for by somebody other than me, then I require loud nail paint, right? I require
Bling them out.
right? Like I get to have that because that is the stuff of life. It may be mundane. It may be cheap. It may, in the sense that it doesn't cost or require a lot of money. It may not be loud or newsworthy in a media sense, but it belongs to me, right? Like it is a part of my story. And I think that so much of the work, and I have seen this with our clients, right? So much of the work of starting with affirming the life, right? Affirming the person, affirming the space that this person is taking up, or these people are taking up, allows us to get to the values that our clients hold. And the values allow us to get to the planning particulars, right? And the planning particulars and those objectives allow us to actually get to the tools, right? So many people call thinking, oh, I just need this. I just need a will, or I just need a power of attorney. Who knows whether they do or they don't, right? It's not even possible to know that necessarily in the first call, because we have been surprised a time or two. But getting into the work of when we ask somebody who has children about nominating guardians for their kids, right? And they get stuck, right? Because that ends up getting political sometimes in families, right? And we get questions about like, do I need to tell such and such about who I nominated ahead of time, or when will they find out about this? And and so we get mired in all of the stuff of life, right? The things that are important in a life. It is important to me that I have peace and harmony in my family. It is important to me that maybe I don't hurt such and such's feelings, or or whatever. It is important to me that I make this decision thoughtfully and excuse me, and with integrity, right? Well, I'm arguing right now in defense of my position that everybody needs a legacy and estate plan, that if that stuff of life is important, then all of your stuff of life is important. And when we have gotten people to agree with us on that premise, and I am pleased to report that we have pretty much 100% success rate in getting people to agree with us on that premise, then we get into it, right? We get to ask the questions about how would you parent your children when you cannot be here physically on this plane to be their parent, right? That the answer to that question is a values question that absolutely merits time, it merits consideration, it merits affirming, and it merits communication. And so it shows up in the planning work, not in the planning work, like this is the planning work, right? It shows up in the tools that we use in order to help people accomplish these planning objectives. And so, yes, you can pull a document off the internet and pray to the Googles that it is legally sufficient. Google is, I mean, it's pretty decent. I mean, there's enough stuff out there that you're bound to land on something that could be reasonably effective, but that's not the work. People confuse the papers with the work. We confuse what we hold with what is worth planning for. And I'm here to kick the door down on those ideas because I could not agree with them less. I could not agree with them less. One of my brothers by affinity says that when he agrees with something, that he is in high agreeance. And I can tell you that I am in high disagreeance with that position. So, yeah, this episode feels a little different than some of the other episodes because we haven't been doing as much about the do this and don't do that. But I think that this is important. What were you getting ready to say?
Yeah, I would just add one thing to what you're saying. I think I agree with you that the work is the thinking about it. And so if the papers don't reflect the work, then frankly, I would argue that they're really not even worth the paper that they're written on for what you've got there. But I also think it's important to highlight too that, because I know you're talking about the values part of it when we're thinking about nominating guardians for children. Or just period.
Values, period.
Yeah. And so it's that this work is important even for people that don't have children. So that is not the criterion for when and why you need this work and have to do these values conversations. And so I know you did not mean it that way.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth stating so that, for instance, if you are a person who does not have children, but there are people in your life, adult people, children people, any people, because none of us is an island doing it solo, then there may be things that you want to pass on to them. So I'm thinking about the children in my life are not children of mine, but they are important little people to me. And so think about them in after the bills are paid, whatever money is left, since I know some of the people in my family are going to be fine, I want to provide for these babies. But to do things beyond just the basics of school, like I want them to have their fun, enriching auntie activities. That's the ridiculous stuff that they normally do with auntie. I want to provide for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a value of mine of I want to be a presence and matter in their lives as part of my legacy.
Yes.
In their story. And so let me figure out how to get that documented. So that is part of the work as well. And I think it's really important to think about what those values conversations are in the work and not just the dollars and cents of it all. Because frankly, the dollars and cents are likely to take care of themselves. And frankly, the government has a plan for how your dollars and cents take care of themselves, whether you write it down or not. But in all the places where the government overstates and overreach into so many of our things in our bodies, if there's a place where you can have a say about it, why not take your stand and have your say?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, I am completely candid. I mean, we are both completely candid that coming into this work, forming this law firm, and choosing to do this work cost us both a lot of money. Like, I mean, We gave up a lot of money in order to do this work. And that's that's just a statement of what is, right? So if money were the most important thing, we would be doing something else, right? If and I think that that's true for just about all of us, right? That if money were the most important thing, then there are decisions that we would have made differently, right? And just because if I don't have a lot of money, does that mean that I don't have people who love me or people that I love, right? Does that mean that I don't get to have loving, compassionate conversations and care that I don't if I can't care for myself anymore and I need to rely on somebody else to do that? Does that mean that I don't get to have any agency or any voice in how that happens, right? Does it mean that I don't get to die with dignity? Does it mean that I don't get to have health care or medical care decisions made in a way that are consistent with my values, with my spiritual beliefs, with my medical autonomy, right? If I prefer cannabis for pain management, does that mean that because I don't have a lot of money, that I don't get to communicate that and expect my word to be honored about my body and about my health? Really? Really? I don't think so. I stand in high disagreement with
Very
with
high.
that premise, right? And so to me, that's that's what this work is. Everybody needs a plan because everybody, everybody has a place in this life. Everybody has something to say about their own life. And this is one of the places to have that voice honored, to have that agency honored, and to have those values affirmed. What does our friend's mom say? Point blank, period.
Point blank, period, full stop.
Yes. So, yeah, what were you getting ready to say?
No, I think exactly what you said. I think it's also this work is a gift to your people in the sense of giving them the blueprint, but also to relieve the pressure. Because similar to the way that there is a plan baked into the way the government has it lined up for your stuff, that is also true for the decisions about you. And sometimes the person who is next in line on that decision tree is not the best person to make that decision for you, either because they won't make decisions in alignment with what you want done, or that will create a crippling burden on that person. And you really want to do that to people that you love and care about. And so
Right.
this gets a way to make sure that that does not happen.
Yeah.
So I think clearly we can talk about the values of it all and the why forever and ever and
No, we
ever.
can't because we got work to do. I know what your schedule looks like for the rest of
Yeah,
this afternoon.
we could, but we're not going to.
As a matter of fact, I'm looking at your schedule right now.
Yeah,
So,
like the points where I look at it and I'm like, who did this? Who's in
right.
charge of this?
Like
I know it's me, and how did that happen?
one of us has to be in court in an hour. So,
There's that. So what I think is important to shift now if is like what does this look like going forward? So now we've had the why conversation and you're like, yeah, I'm an everybody. I need a plan. So what does a plan mean?
so what we're going to be doing over the course of the next however many weeks it takes is actually walking through each of or some of the most common planning tools that we use in our work. We'll probably start with the most important tool, and then sort of work from there. And our approach as we've envisioned it, or at least as we've discussed it so far, but we reserve the right to change our minds at any time, is to sort of give an understanding of what each tool is, what the roles are in each of those, and a bit of guidance on how to maybe approach the decision making about how to put people in roles, right, and how to make some of these decisions. There are multiple tools. It is our desire to have these live stream conversations be accessible, so we don't want to keep you on here for hours and hours. So we'll probably break up some of them into multiple conversations. But know that's where our hearts are, that's where our spirits are, and that's actually where our work is. Like, what you see, like this is it. This is us. This is the whole thing. This is how we do it.
Send me the card.
Right? This is how we do it. So one of the things that we're committed to is leaving you all with something that is actionable that you can do right now. Right now, today. It doesn't have to be a big project. It's not huge homework. It's not term paper length, anything. And for today, we have 2 ideas. The homework for today, the action items for today are ideas, action items. And so, Alicia, do you want to share those?
Yeah. So we've talked about the value of this work and that the work is the thinking about it. And so one of the things that we challenge you to do as your real-time action item is identify the things in your life that would not be the same without. So they don't necessarily have to be monetary things or of value, but you're going to be your starting place, is identify those things that if this was not part of your life, it just wouldn't be the same. That's item number 1. Then the second item is to think about who you want to plan for, provide for, and protect. Start with yourself, of course, because we said it all starts with you and your being here and mattering, and then go out from there. So for the other folks that are in that next in line circle, and I'm thinking about ripples on a pond, of who is it that you want to protect, provide for, and plan for. And when you think about those 2 things, that will help you with shaping what these next tools are going to look like as we're starting to have those conversations. If you have these 2 things in mind, that will help you with the decision making that you'll be thinking about as we get to kind of the nuts and bolts of specific tools.
Right. And I would double down on that first challenge item of identifying the things that your life would not be the same without. I would double down on that and ask you to focus on things that do not have any monetary value. Because the things that are worth money, those things are going to stand out to you no matter what, right? The things that don't have any monetary value, and I do mean down to the cloth that Grandpa used to shine his church shoes with, or this was the hat pin that Auntie used to wear whenever she was getting dressed up to go somewhere. Maybe it's Granny's cookbooks, right? Maybe it's the family Bible. Who knows? Who knows what it is? But consider things that don't have any value at all, potentially to anybody but you. Those humblest of things are the brightest and most enriching things, and that's the place to start this work. That will inform the why of this work for you. So I would say even double down even farther on that particular item. You want to tell the people where to find us and when we'll be back?
Yes, so you can find us on them interwebs Our
You
website,
did not say the interwebs.
isn't it true though?
Sure, why not?
So our website is www.dahlialawgroup.com. Dahlia is spelled like flower. You can also find us on Instagram at Dahlia Law, DAHLIA Law, and on this YouTube channel where you can meet us every Wednesday at 12:30 Pacific and 3:30 Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
That is where you can find us.
All right. We will look forward to talking to you again soon. Thank you for being here today, and hopefully there was something enriching for you about this conversation. And if it was, please share it with us. We would absolutely love to know. All right. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye bye.